Oh my gosh, everybody. Okay, today I'm here with Morgan Ruff. I actually know her as Morgan Schneidler. Wasn't that your name before, right?
That was,
Yes,
yes.
right. But we were bike racers back in the day. Actually, she was really the only racer, and I was just like as you know, I just sandbagged as much as I could anytime to just get to the finish line. But today I'm here with Morgan Ruff, and I just want to say your Instagram is Morgan Ruff Uplift, which I love that. And
Oh, thank
here's
you.
here's what it says here. She's a soul coach and guide. What in the world is a soul coach and guide? You better tell everybody about yourself, how you started doing this, and get going. Go.
Kelly, it's so good to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I call myself a soul coach and guide. And the reason why I call myself that is because my experience becoming a mother and living in this world where it's go, 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 I completely abandoned my soul. I completely abandoned kind of this core essence of who I was because I kept on trying to fit into all these boxes and categories and things that people think you are. And so
You mean
I,
as a mother, the
as a
things they
mother,
think you are, yeah, in those
yeah,
categories.
there's all these categories, all these labels that we like to wear or we are asked to wear. About what it means to be a perfect mom, what it means to work in these different environments, what it means to be a woman, what it means to be yada, yada, yada. And we carry these and we take these identities on.
Oh, yeah.
And so often what that means is we're stepping away from the core of who we are.
Of who we really are, right?
Who we really are.
I know this is true. I think there are, there are really like there are, I can't think of the word right now, but there are these they mean certain things. Mother means certain things. I remember when I was, in this former life, I was married, right?
Yeah.
And I remember what it felt like to be a wife in that way. Now I call Julie my wife, but it's so different now.
Right,
but
right.
then you were seeing like my mother would send me these things like Patty Dobrovolsky Mardarelli, and I'd be like, who's that? Like what happened to my name, right? And so I think that you get put in this box of who you're supposed to be, and you forget about who you are. But what's cool about what you do is that you help women to reclaim that part of themselves. And so here's what it says actually in your Instagram, which I loved. I was just grabbing this: guiding passionate humans back to their wild souls to find your bigger life vision through transformational experiences. I mean, how beautiful is that?
Yeah.
So, but they're not just, let's be clear, they're not just transformational experiences. They're out in the wilderness experiences.
Out in the wilderness, yeah.
I mean, you're taking them in kayaks to Alaska and Deception Pass, and tell people about that part of it.
Yeah. So the guide part of my title, Soul Coach and Guide, is I have a history as being a wilderness guide. And I worked in Alaska for over 10 years. I have spent lots of time in the wilderness. It's the place where I feel the most free, the most alive, the most beautiful. When my hair is like just teased out to craziness, I'm dirty from head to toe. Oh my gosh, I am gorgeous.
Yeah, I love that because that just freaks me out. You drop me in the middle of New York City, I feel totally at home. But the wilderness, I'll tell Julie when she wants to go hiking, I'm like, yeah, well, you're leading because I don't have any idea where we're going. And I'm so happy when we get there because I know that I'm a horse to the barn. Now I get to go back to what I'm comfortable with, right?
And those experiences out in wild nature, they kind of invite us to practice a lot of the things that we are kind of developing in our lives. So you're always learning. It just kind of amplifies a lot of the things that we are kind of asked to learn. So what does it mean to hold boundaries with your thoughts and your emotions? How do you manage
keep it together? How do you keep it together?
How do you keep it together? Stay positive. How do you manage feeling physical discomfort for a week?
Yeah, like you feel like you're exhausted. You can't do it. You're filthy,
Yeah. How do you deal with anxiety about food? like food that's
Oh
coming.
God, I'm so hungry. Right, exactly. Or is there going to be enough to eat?
Is there
Or
gonna
am
be
I
enough?
going to have to cook before we eat?
Right.
Can I just eat nuts and berries all weekend?
Yeah, how do I do this? Other anxiety things that come up for people are like, how am I going to interact with a group of women? Like,
Yeah,
what if
like
I'm
what if you
nervous?
don't like groups and then there you are? And what if you don't like them? You know how it is. You've been in
Yeah,
groups of people
yeah,
where somebody really bugs you because they talk too much or
right.
whatever, right?
And then how do you manage your own feelings when you're like, ooh, this is uncomfortable?
Yeah.
So inviting people out into the wilderness, for me, really allows us to amplify a lot of the things that we are asked to practice in our day-to-day life. You
Yeah.
also are completely removing so many distractions. There is no cell phone. There is no email access. There's no quick little check on Instagram. You are alone, off the grid, and yeah, for most people,
That's
who
right.
has ever had that experience of being away for 7 days and
Yeah.
not having any contact?
Now, does everybody that come with you, are they mostly mothers?
There's a lot of mothers, yeah, mostly mothers. And it is a really challenging experience to learn how to step away from your family. You have to trust your support network and develop your support network. I
Yeah, to
have,
get out there, right? Because you got to leave your children with a trusted parent or
right,
grandparent
yeah.
or a friend, right?
Yep, yep. And one of the things that I
Wow.
remember, one woman who came out with me when we went to Alaska, she's like, oh my gosh, I realized all of the contacts for all the kids' activities and friends and whatnot, they're in my phone. And I'm
Oh
like,
God.
well, why are
Yes.
you the only one taking on this responsibility? What does it
Oh,
mean to share it with your partner? So it opened up this opportunity for her to really talk with her partner about how they are divvying out responsibilities in their
oh
family.
my
What
gosh.
is it that they need to start sharing more?
Yeah, yeah,
Also to
yeah,
look at herself and say, why do I feel like it's only my responsibility to manage
yeah.
this, plus my job, plus my activities, plus that? Why is that only me?
Yes.
How am I, how can I empower others in my life to take on more of that role and responsibility?
Wow. Wow. Now, have you had people, women just totally freak out there?
Um, a lot of the women I am bringing out, we do work ahead of time. And so we always
So
do,
there's freak out
there's
prep
prep ahead
work.
of time. Yeah. So we always do a draw your future map. We always do a map to help them make sure that they are prepared and setting up and creating steps along the way to make sure that this
Success.
experience is going to be a success.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
we
And
do
you
coaching.
promise that when they come back, they'll feel powerful, energized, connected, alive, and hopeful. That's what it says. And I just think that's amazing. And I know that when you get out in the wilderness and you're on an experience like that, you will feel that way. You will
Yeah.
find those things on the other side of the fear and the challenge and the physical fatigue, right?
Yeah. I am always so amazed at how powerful I really am. And yet I try to tell myself I'm not. And so
Yeah.
when I go through a challenging experience, and this is obviously a managed challenging experience, but it is a challenging experience. And I come out the other side, I'm like, I did that.
Yeah.
Climbed a mountain,
Yeah.
carried a heavy pack. I had no idea that
Well,
I.
and I saw on your Instagram you skiing out there in the middle of nowhere, looking up to where you had to go still to get there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what do you find is challenging for you in being an entrepreneur and your business?
Oh, there's always so much fear of the unknown. So I have this big vision, this big dream. I want every woman on this planet to feel empowered and free and hopeful and in charge of your own life and your feelings.
Yeah.
Because in my world, like
Wow.
we do not need any more disempowered women.
No,
We're just
definitely
over
not.
that. We're done. We're done with that. It's time. It's time for all of us to
Oh my
feel that.
God.
And
Yeah.
so have this dream and vision of this world that just is lit up with women who are empowered. And then on the other hand, I'm like, who am I to be the one doing this and sharing this and inviting people out on these trips? Like, I'm just a mom in Washington State, all that fear of the imposter syndrome of, um, not being big enough for my vision. And I
You,
think that sometimes those, it just kind of,
yeah, it
those
gets
little
in your way.
blocks
It gets in your way.
get in the
That's
way.
like one of those roadblocks. Well, I think about you. So, how I know you is first through bike racing. You and I started bike racing the same time. And here's the thing. What you need to know is, I was probably, I think I'm 20 years older than you are, right? So how old are you now?
45.
Yeah. So I'm 20 years older than you. So I started when I was 50, she was 30.
Right.
And here's the truth about it is that you're an amazing athlete. So you got on the bike and you were like no holds barred, full on. And then what happens in bike racing, for those of you who's never become one, is that you move up in category. And she just went boom, right up there to the top category to race at the highest level. And me, I stayed Cat 4 my whole thing. I was like, yeah, that's probably good for me. But it was incredible to watch. You were fearless out there. And so that is something that somewhere you have locked in, because
Yeah.
this to me, you starting your business and moving out there in the wilderness and taking other women out there and the responsibility of them, like that requires fearlessness. It really
Yeah.
does. It requires a kind of courage. And so even if you've got that, what Pete Cohen would say, that duck in your head that's
Yeah.
quacking at you about what an imposter you are, you've been able to overcome that. And so you recently had something at Deception Pass. What happened there? What did you do? Tell us a little bit about what a day in the life of one of these retreats looks like.
Yeah. So we have a couple of different skills. We have the full week of wilderness and like really getting in. But if somebody's like, I just need to dip my toe in and try to understand what it means to really connect with nature and myself, to, go out to go within, is what I like to say. You have to go outside and connect in order to really connect with yourself. I host quarterly, I call them mini retreats. They're just like 3 or 4 hours. They can be done virtually. So one of the things I really care about is helping
Wow.
people connect with where they live, to develop their own sense of place so that they have that sense of like, oh, I know the plants, the animals, the place, the seasons,
Yeah.
how it lives and breathes. Because to
Wow.
me, that's a really important part of how we are also connected to nature. We are nature. So every quarter at the change of the season, I invite people to sit down with me, either in person or in your own location. And we go through the 4 seasons. And so winter is all about seeing in new ways. You have to figure out how to take away maybe your dominance, your sight, and use your ears to see and hear and experience a place.
Mm.
Spring for me is about fertilizing our soil and making it a place where we can grow our dreams, hopes, and dreams. So it's about self-compassion. We're
Yeah.
all tend to be so hard on ourselves. Summer is about creative expression, so we get to play with the textures and materials. And then fall is all about gratitude and
Oh,
really being in reciprocity with the place that you're sitting with each other, with finding that gratitude within yourself. So it's this little experience where there's journaling, there's meditation, there's walking, there's creative expression, and we get to just do it together. And it's really a beautiful experience to do every quarter. And you can watch these places evolve and change along with what's happening within you.
oh, I love that. I love that. And, I always make fun of nature bathing because I'm a city girl, right? So I always post these Instagrams where I'm driving through a forest and then I post nature bathing, and then thousands of people look at the post, right? Because
Uh-huh.
so many people are desperate to be outdoors. And, I'm fortunate to live on an acre and a half. And it's really amazing to be able to walk out into my backyard, right? And to be in that environment, to
Mhm.
learn and to let things naturally grow, which is what you do. In a way, you sort of help people to naturally grow in relationship to the environment in which they are. Now,
Yeah.
you have a day job too, don't you? Are you still doing your day job? Because you
I
have a
am
day
still doing
job.
my day
Well,
job.
you're
Yeah.
committed to the environment, right?
I'm
And so
very,
are you working in the, tell me what you're doing. I'm going to
yeah.
make it
So
up and then I'll be wrong.
yeah, I work for a Native American tribe here in Western Washington. And the primary focus that I have is helping to restore habitat for the endangered species that we all love here in the Northwest. So Chinook salmon is a primary, but of
Yeah.
course that benefits the orca whales. And that work is really about how do we create collaborations and partnerships across interests. We all have different ways that we want the land to be. How can we find a path forward that will support the tribes, that will support the salmon, that will support the farmers and everybody in between? So
Wow. So you're really about collaboration in that
that's,
space. You're really
yeah,
working to help people have conversation together without getting all heated.
that is my goal. Yeah, I really believe that we're all in this boat together. These are
Right.
our neighbors. And the
Yeah.
more that we can see each other with compassion and empathy and understanding of the challenges we each face,
Yeah.
I think we're going to be able to move forward. You know, a traditional environmental job, kind of when you think about it, was often very adversarial. And that just hasn't ever worked for me. I just really care about people, the way they live, how they are working in the lands. And I believe that we can figure out a path together. And it's going to be a much more resilient path than if we are kind of fighting and suing each other.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. And I think there's something too about learning from each other,
Yeah.
right? So if you can be open to learn from whoever you're in conversation with, then you get to this other place, an altered place, and that is the common ground, right?
Yeah.
And common ground is the place where better ideas come out than you and I can think about on our own, because we always have our very selective viewpoint of how things would be done, right? So how do you deal with differing viewpoints when
Mhm.
people want to make change, but they all are coming at it from their very entrenched perspectives?
Yeah. You know, it's something that I have had to work on a lot within myself is like when I am feeling the emotional trigger of somebody not hearing my feeling like somebody's not hearing my perspective, like, okay, what's coming up within me? What am I doing? So
Mm,
the first thing that I do is just I have compassion for myself when I'm in disagreement. But I worked with a tribal elder. He was my mentor for many years. He recently passed away. But I would often go to him and go, how can we keep coming to this table? They don't treat you well. And he's like, none of that matters. We just need to keep going forward. We need to keep sitting down. It's okay. They'll get there eventually. We'll get there eventually.
yeah.
And one of the ways that he would bring people together is through storytelling and through connecting with each other as humans. So it's patience and it's compassion for yourself when you're feeling
Yeah.
impatient. And then just
Yeah.
continuing to have that bigger picture vision, just like you teach us, Patty, the
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
picture vision. We might not all agree on how we get there, but we all want the same outcomes. We want
Yeah.
clean water, we want healthy ecosystems, we want food in our, in our environment. So
Yeah, that's safe to eat. And also we want them to thrive, the fish to thrive. We don't want
right,
to overfish.
right,
Right. And I think, and a lot of us, we would prefer that our fish didn't come from farms, right?
right.
Fish
Yeah,
farms.
yeah,
And that's a really, that's the thing we all have to come to grips with, that we can't all eat fish all the time if we want the fish to be sustainable, right?
yeah, yeah,
It's curious to me that you went into this field, and then from that field, you decided that you wanted to do this individual coaching or group coaching
yeah,
with women in this space. How did you come to that
yeah.
from just working in the environment? Where did you get that drive or desire to do that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I went through a really challenging point in my life when after I had my second child, I had really severe postpartum depression. And then also we had a lot of stuff happening within my family of origin, my extended family that really brought me to my knees. Like, I realized that the foundation of my life was built on solid ground, and I had to build up from the bottom up.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
for me, therapy, coaching, mindfulness, all these
Yeah.
tools were so important to finding that soul that I had just
Yeah.
completely abandoned. And it made me feel so good. I just had to share it, of course. But I also started to read. I read a ton. I listen to a ton of books. And Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorite authors. And I read one quote, and it just said, "The pollution we see outside is only a reflection of our inner pollution."
Mm.
And
Wow.
pollution can be racism, it can be the patriarchy, it can be
Yeah.
environmental. And I went, oh, the problem is not out there, it's in here, it's within us. And until we are willing to break down the
Yeah.
conditionings that we
Yeah.
have and truly go deep and heal ourselves at the core,
Yeah.
none of it matters. And so
Yeah.
then I just was like, I want to be a part of that. I want to be part of the healing the world, not just in habitat restoration, but in individuals.
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
know
I
that for so many of us, it's like you heal yourself, you heal your family, you heal your community, you heal it.
That's right.
It
That's
really
right.
is.
You widen the window for everybody. Have you read that book, Widen the Window?
Oh no,
Oh, it's a
what?
really great book about widening the window for yourself and
Yeah,
making space for
yeah,
you to feel and also to not override the feelings that you are experiencing. Because I think that we're just trained to do that. My parents grew up in the Great Depression, so
yeah,
they just stuffed everything, and so it was all good all the time with this sort of fake thing. And it wasn't that my mother wasn't really a positive person, because she was so she was such a service oriented person, and my father too. But it was true that when things got tough, nobody wanted to talk about it. They didn't
right.
want to talk about it. They were just like, oh yeah, you'll get over that, right? And I
Yeah,
think we've pulled that through the generations into the
yeah.
now.
Yeah, and it's really amazing to watch my children now model new levels of emotional intelligence that, I had to
Oh,
learn these things, and it's been, oh man, some days is not pretty.
yeah.
But now I see my kids, pausing and taking a breath when they are feeling,
Overwhelmed. Yeah.
overwhelmed. And I'm like,
Wow, that must be so fantastic. You
it
must feel
is.
very
And
proud
hearing
of
them
them.
talk about their emotions in a way that shows that they had this awareness of the connection between how they're thinking and the emotional reaction. I'm like, whoa, it's so amazing.
That is so cool. Well, when you think about your future in doing the work that you are, like, what's your plan for this next year? What's the
Yeah.
goal that you have for the next couple years so that we can latch onto that and help you make it happen?
Oh, I love that. Thank you for asking. Yeah, so I do have a trip that's open right now, and seeking women who are interested in pushing that edge and exploring that zone of comfort, or discomfort, I guess we should say.
Where's it going this trip?
So this trip is going to be a backpacking trip in the North Cascades in Washington,
Oh, so
D.C.
beautiful.
Just absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And that will be, the actual trip is the last week in July, but there's also the
Perfect.
coaching and the support. There's kind of the emotional mindset coaching that I do, and then we have technical support as well. So how do you find a backpack? What type of gear do you need? If you don't already have that, we help you with all of that. And then, of course, the quarterly retreats. So another one coming up in June, and you can find those mostly through my Instagram is the easiest way to
Yeah,
connect.
her Instagram is at Morgan Ruff Uplift, RUFF.
Yeah,
Morgan,
like golfer.
Morgan Ruff, RUFF,
Yeah,
Uplift. And I'll put that too into we'll
yeah,
put it on the screen somewhere so
yeah.
they can
And
see it.
then, just so folks know, next year is Alaska. We're gonna go out to the Taquinas, be up in just one of the most beautiful wild places. Alaska is very near and dear to my heart, and we'll be up in the mountains and really exploring that beautiful
Wow, I love this. This is
Yeah.
so fun. And so for those of you that are listening, if this is something, that you want to experience, if you're a woman who's a mother and you feel like you need to or just a woman who's out there or anyone who's out there and wants to experience this connection with yourself and to grow yourself in this area and allow yourself to expand into the places where you feel least comfortable, but in the most beautiful places in the world, then I highly suggest that you contact Morgan, because she's just incredible. So I know that her from Draw Your Future, and she's just been an amazing person and really honestly inspired me to ride my bike even harder. So
Always happy.
yeah, that's so great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. You're just amazing. And I'm going to bring you back so that we can talk more about, after one of these experiences, you can tell some more stories about what you've experienced and how you've grown and changed and help other women to do the same.
That's fantastic, Patty. You are so inspiring, and I am so grateful to you for all you're bringing into this world and for the beautiful images of Draw Your Future and how much it's helping my community and me to really hold that bigger life vision. Like, I don't have to be stuck over here. I can have a big vision for myself, and I know I can get to it. I know I can achieve it. So
I know you can too. I know you can too. And you and all those, we're going to hold that vision of all those women in the world feeling empowered and just being light in the world, because that's what we are anyway.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Oh, you're so incredible. I hope that you have a great and fantastic rest of your day. Everybody, please follow her on Instagram at Morgan Ruff Uplift. Get yourself into one of those retreats, because that I know I probably won't, but I might someday push myself to do that.
Create beautiful spaces in your backyard. You can just put there.
All right. I love you. We'll see you
Love
soon,
you.
everybody.
Thank
Until
you.
next time, up your creative genius.